words that are often used when people come and give me feedback, especially right after the feedback, is inspiring. So there's definitely an aspect of the keynote as being an activation or a mobilizing energy towards a direction for doing innovation. But I think there's a deeper value to the way I approach a keynote. One of the things I like to do is to demonstrate innovation by using music as an example, putting an innovation process on stage, showing how improvisation in music works, as a way of focusing the audience on building capabilities for innovation and understanding that those capabilities come from practice and that they involve strategic choices about what capabilities to invest in. And for many people, this is a big idea because they kind of get that innovation is often practiced in terms of culture building and encouragement, corporate value statements. But my feeling is that's like talking about playing the piano as opposed to sitting people down at a piano and getting them to practice for 5 or 10 years. So that notion of practice, of doing it, is still missing in a lot of what organizations talk about when they talk about innovation. So it used to be that a keynote was a way of activating an organization and they could go back refreshed to their day-to-day and the right kinds of things would happen. But now organizations need to be really concerned about transformation and creating lots of white space to examine what they want to do going forward. So for me, very often the keynote will lead to a conversation about, well, maybe we need to train up a bunch of our senior leadership in innovation practice. Because I like to say if you want innovation, you have to have people who know how to do it. And to get people who know how to do it, you have to help them learn how to do it. And I've spent 30 years developing ways of helping people learn how to do it. So sort of an executive program model. But then an organization might say, gee, so we actually have an innovation challenge. We have or an opportunity. Or we buy into what you're saying about an innovation agenda and strategy, and we'd like to actually develop that way of doing innovation, that stewardship of innovation, which is something I like to talk about. So let's sit down with you and work that through. And I've got 2-day formats for accomplishing the executive education and what I call the deep dive portion. And then sometimes it's just an open-ended dialogue with the company, understanding deeply what they need and riding shotgun with them for some period of time to help them get to where they want to go. It's no secret these days that innovation is a big deal for countries. There are probably, in my estimation, at least 50 countries around the world that have some kind of a national innovation agenda or an innovation agency or an innovation ministerial level person. And again, there's the good and the bad and the ugly of that, because some countries I've found to be very sophisticated and others are just kind of starting out. But the bottom line here is that societal scale innovation is very significant because the world is faced with tons of horrific, huge, apparently almost insoluble challenges for which the only remedy is innovation and the kind of collaboration and large-scale mobilization of resources that societal scale innovation, or what I call large-scale innovation, can really pay off on. So I've had the good fortune to work with 10 countries in some level of depth about their national strategies. I've seen how innovation becomes relevant in a society beyond just science and technology to embrace share economy and social innovation and many other aspects of what a big innovation agenda should be all about. So, and there are a number of interesting similarities but also differences in terms of how countries operate in contrast to companies. And I think that the other aspect of global, of course, which I find interesting, is the idea that the innovation, as we've said, is a word that's up for grabs. And so to look around and see all of the different disciplines that are relevant to innovation, all of the different best practices that have been developed to address innovation needs, is to have a kind of an integrated perspective, which I like nothing better than to share with people I'm working with.